10 animals in Florida that will eat or kill you. This isn't a clickbait video. This is some real crap. On the news lately, people have been getting eaten by alligators left and right. So I'm going to tell you the top 10 animals in Florida that will probably eat or at least kill you. And the crazy thing is, I thought about 5 other animals. This could have really been 15 or 20, but I'm going to give you the top 10 most dangerous animals that you're going to encounter in Florida. Number 1 is alligators. If you're out fishing or within 10 feet of the water in Florida, you are in the danger zone to be attacked by an alligator. So if you're fishing, kayaking, or doing any water activities in Florida, you need to be extraordinarily careful when you are on the edge of the water. And if you have a small pet, if the pet can see the water, the alligator can see your pet. And these are big predators. They're going to want to eat your pet dog, cat, or any other small living thing that comes near the water. One of the biggest preventative steps that you can take to stay safe with alligators is simply not going near the water. If you are about 10 feet from the edge of the water in Florida, you are now in the alligator's territory. And when you are in the alligator's territory, you could easily be attacked. A vast majority of alligator attacks are caused by people walking their dogs on the edge of canals or lakes. This is a do not go zone with your pets and animals, and they are literally asking for an alligator to attack them. If you are canoeing or kayaking in a canal in Florida and you fall into the water, you only have a few seconds to react and get out of the water before being approached by an alligator who's most likely going to try to eat you. Homeless people come from other states and they think it's okay to bathe in canals or lakes. They do not know that almost every single body of water in Florida is going to have an alligator, whether you see it or not. And the scary thing is that the bigger alligators are professionals at being in the water, but not being seen. Number 2 is sharks. Whether it's great white sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, when you enter salt water in Florida, you are now in the territory of sharks. The area around Daytona Beach and New Smyrna Beach is a known shark attack area. They will come up canals and backwaters and find their way deep inland. There were 16 reported shark attacks last year in the state of Florida. Number 3, Africanized bees. While native Florida honeybees are beneficial, these Africanized bees can literally kill you. They look exactly like regular bees, and it's almost impossible from the outside to know if they're regular honeybees from Florida or if they're an Africanized colonies. If you're wearing bright colored clothes or if you agitate these bees, they will attack unprovoked, unlike honeybees, which will never do that. Once they go on the attack, nothing will stop them, and many people in Florida have lost their lives due to these Africanized bees. They will not stop, and they are very dangerous. If you are around abandoned structures, especially around Lehigh Acres, Florida, and other rural parts, you're going to have to be very careful to avoid bright colored clothes, and you will be attacked by these bees. They are unrelentless, and they are not your friendly honeybees. Africanized bees are dangerous, especially since they will follow you unprovoked. Number 4 is fire ants. In the state of Florida, when you're out and about, you're going to have to be careful for fire ants, especially around patches of dry sand near grass. Fire ants are very dangerous, and many times you'll step on them without paying attention. If there's a lot of rain and it floods, fire ant colonies will flow into a ball, and if you encounter one of these floating balls of ants, or if you're in a flooded area and touch an item that has now become a floating colony for these ants, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble. You always have to be alert for fire ants in Florida, and if you fall into a large fire ant hill, you can definitely be in a world of trouble, especially if you are allergic to their bites. So if you're going to let the kids play outside in the grass in Florida, you need to make sure that there are no fire ants in the area, since they usually wait and attack all at the same time. You'll rarely get a warning before knowing you're completely covered in fire ants. There are 22 reported deaths in Florida because of fire ants. What's scary about fire ants is that they prefer your lawn. That's their natural environment. Number 5, stingrays. While actual deaths are not really common, they will injure you. Very painful stings. If you're walking around the beaches in Florida, you're going to have to be mindful of stingrays. They have the habit of hiding in the sand where you cannot see them, and they have a very painful sting. While not exactly deadly, their sting is very painful, and it's not something you want to have happen to you. Their preferred habitat is sandy areas in passes and inlets that are nice and calm. Number 6, boas and pythons. These are escaped pets, and they are found in the Everglades of Florida. Usually they're not a danger to humans, but if you have pets, you have to be careful. I've only seen one in the state of Florida, and it was in my neighborhood in North Naples. It must have been 11 feet long, and yes, the neighborhood cats did disappear. It is said that deep in the Everglades and areas around the Fakahatchee Strand, there are even entire colonies of anacondas. While I don't know if this is true because I've been out there a lot and I've never seen them, you will catch people with flashlights out in the Everglades looking for pythons at night. I suspect that a vast majority of these monster boas that have been caught quote unquote in the wild in Florida are actually escape pets, or they're staged to make it look like they caught it in the wild. I really don't think there are that many 20 and 30 foot pythons out in the Everglades. I really suspect that a vast majority of these 18 and 20 foot pythons that are quote unquote caught in the wild in the Everglades are really domestic bred animals, and that people are staging these finds in order to get online clout. There are large pythons in the Everglades, there's no doubt about that, but I really doubt that there's as many as they're reporting to catch, and the incentive for people to fake catching a 20-foot python in the Everglades to get clout seems like a very alluring thing for people to do. I personally spent countless hours, if not days, entire days out in the Everglades, and I've never seen a python in the wild, just the one that I saw in my neighborhood. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. We just reached 80,000 subscribers. That means that we are 4/5 of the way there. I hate to be the one to say please subscribe to my channel, but dude, we're so close to 100,000 subscribers that I can't help telling you guys to join us. Number 7 is rattlesnakes. This is a much more realistic scenario. While rattlesnakes can be found all throughout Florida, for some reason people do find them in their homes. I had an elderly friend in Bonita Springs, Florida, and a rattlesnake decided to make a nest underneath her house, and we were catching rattlesnakes around her property for weeks. The good thing about rattlesnakes is that they will rattle the tail and let you know they are nearby. So if you're threading to the woods, you'll have to be very careful and have an eye out for rattlesnakes. They are definitely dangerous, and the eastern diamondback rattlesnake can become quite large and impressive. They're big animals. Number 8, the cottonmouth snake. These are little black chubby snakes that love to hang around the water in Florida. They're very common and their bite is very nasty. So whether you're out fishing, exploring nature, or even in your backyard, you're going to have to be very careful of these dangerous aquatic snakes. I remember in Bonita Springs, me and my dad were on a fishing trip, and we looked around and saw one cottonmouth snake. Then we looked around and realized that there were hundreds of cottonmouth snakes in this particular spot we were in. They're also known as water moccasins. While you're out enjoying Florida, you're going to have to keep an eye out for these snakes. Their bite is nasty, and they will not give you much warning if you step on them. There are reports of these snakes going after people unprovoked. I have personally never seen that happen. They are usually very timid and shy away from people, but if you're out in the woods in Florida and you need to have an eye out for these little chubby black snakes, they usually stay perfectly still and open their white mouth. That's why they're called cottonmouths or water moccasins. These snakes are usually going to be around water in marshy, swampy areas. They're very quiet, very timid, and they will hurt you badly if you tread on them or go near them. The fact that they attack people unprovoked, I've never confirmed that. When I've encountered them, they're just trying to mind their own business. These snakes can be anywhere where there's water in Florida, and you're going to have to be very careful if you enter the water in Florida to look out for cottonmouth snakes. The bites don't always prove to be fatal, but it's supposed to be one of the most painful things you're ever going to experience your whole life. And for some reason, I don't understand, they do like to go in and around residential properties. I remember many years back, I was doing a job in the Golden Gate Estates cleaning up land debris, and I actually walked away from the job site because in the debris there were so many cottonmouth snakes that I just walked away from the job. So if you have debris of landscaping around your property in the Golden Gate Estates, you may want to use a rake to shake it up first before throwing your hands into the landscaping debris, because this is a preferred hiding site for cottonmouth snakes. Number 9. Alligator snapping turtles. In the swamps of the south, you will encounter these snapping turtles. They become very large and they are very aggressive animals. The good thing is that they are mostly deep into swamps and places where you are never going to venture into. But if you find yourselves walking through a swamp for some reason in Florida, you will encounter that alligator snapping turtles have absolutely no problem snapping your leg in half. For the most part, alligator snapping turtles are only in the northern region of the state, but I suspect that deep in the Everglades, underneath swamps, places we've never been to, there are also many alligator snapping turtles. There's different types of snapping turtles as well, and I should mention that soft-shell turtles are found throughout the entire state of Florida. They can actually get very large and can be very aggressive. While not on this list, I guess a swarm of catfish could also eat you if you fall in the water. I can't really confirm that happening to anybody, but it looks pretty freaking scary. Number 10, the Florida panther. Very common in rural South Florida. These big puma cats have no problem taking you, your parents, your dog, your cat, your goats, and eating them. I've never seen a Florida panther in the wild, but it is not uncommon when I go out to the Florida Everglades to see this right here. It is a smaller bobcat. I have seen the footprints of Florida panthers, and I have also been close enough to hear them chirping. What is scary about Florida panthers is while you have never seen them, they have definitely seen you. They are masters at stalking people and animals. Many people that have had goat farms in the Golden Gate Estates have noted that their entire flock will eventually be eaten by Florida panthers. So if you have domestic animals in the Golden Gate Estates, you're going to have to be very careful because Florida panthers are going to be very persistent in going after your pets. I've never really had an encounter with a Florida panther where I could say it was trying to hurt me. However, I have been on trails and noticed that when I walk back the other way, there's footprints behind me. The Florida panthers are perfect at stalking you. And while you may have never seen them, they have definitely seen you many times and you're not even aware. Florida panthers have absolutely no problem going after your pets and goats, and they prefer to be near human and civilization for easy pickings of domestic animals. People in the outskirts of Naples, Florida are always posting up pictures on the internet from their cameras showing panthers sitting on their front porches or near their patios or their driveways while they sleep. And again, it's an animal that you will usually never ever see. Even me, who spent countless time out in the Florida Everglades exploring the woods, I've never physically seen them. I have seen their droppings, I have seen their fingerprints, footprints, whatever you want to call them, and I have also heard them in close proximity, but physically lay my eyes on them, I've never been able to do it. Creepy thing about Florida panthers is sometimes you can sense that you're being watched, you just don't know where it's coming from. It's absolutely paramount that when you're on trails in Florida that you always look behind your back every once in a while and make sure you're not being followed. However, they're so slick that by the time you turn your neck, they've already disappeared. Florida is a fascinating place with a lot of incredible wildlife, and some of that wildlife is best left alone and left unprovoked. Going in the water in Florida has a lot of dangers, and it's not just animals. Tangled fishing lines and other debris in the water can cause you to get hurt. It's super important that you recognize these dangers while enjoying Florida, and always remember that once you enter the animal's habitat, it's a wild world where humans or anything that's alive can be looked as food.